Welcome to Foundations. We're the marriage architects, Marc and Heather. And whether you're newlyweds or celebrating decades together, we know there are still paths to discovering new dreams, vision, and purpose for your marriage. We can build a marriage blueprint for you. Just go to foundationsquiz.com or click the link in the show notes labeled quiz. God has incredible plans for your marriage. Join us today.
Years ago, I asked you guys to write down your testimony and kind of your marriage story. I don't know if you might not even remember that. You don't? Yeah. And the reason I did that, and I actually forgot that until you were walking in, I remember. The reason I did that is because I wanted to share it with other couples, just as encouragement. I can't remember how we shared it, but I collected a few stories like that from folks at the church or whatever at the time, and just to be an encouragement and so on and so forth. And I even had this grand idea, and I never followed through with it, but I thought, wouldn't it be cool if, like, maybe a couple times a year we did some kind of public celebration, kind of like, I don't know if you remember in Sunday school when they would have people stand up for their birthday and everybody would sing to them, and they got to go into the birthday treasure chest, and I thought, well, that'd be fun. We could do something like that for the anniversary treasure chest with like some real gifts, though, like dinner, out, and then more importantly, just share with folks, what the story was. So that's what this is about. Okay. This is maybe a different version of that whole idea, but what is on Heather and I's heart, we had phenomenal parents, and we had such a great upbringing, and that was just quite simply, two people got together, knew who they were. When they had kids, they knew what they wanted to accomplish. They had goals, they had dreams, they had purpose for raising that family, and we benefited from all that. We would like you guys to share a little bit of just your story, a little bit of how you met last night was awesome, but what God's done and how He's done it, how you've seen Him work. I love, Pat, what you said too, we're here to do some work as well because things have changed. And maybe you want to even fast forward to that because your expectations are also going to help inspire other people too, because there'll be people that'll go, that's where we're at, and so that's kind of the thought process behind what we're talking about. If we need to come back and do some more, I get it. That's, you got a lifetime in 58 years, can't sink it all into 20 minutes, but that's kind of what we're thinking about. So tell us a little bit, get us started with how you maybe met, and let's talk about things that God has done in your life, ways you've seen Him work, things you learned about each other.
I don't know where to start. Well, we had awesome parents from the standpoint that they loved each other, they were committed to each other. We had peaceful homes that we were raised in. But we really didn't have, either one of us, any religious instruction, so to say. My parents attended my mother attended a denominational church and took us to Sunday school. But I never knew that I could know him personally. I knew about him. So I didn't get saved until after I had my first child.
Wow.
And he got, well, you tell your story.
Well, I stood in front of this truck and I knew the Lord right away. No, when I was 12 years old, me and another kid was helping a Baptist pastor remodel a house. And he was always talking about Jesus. And one night he set us down and just led us both to the Lord. So that was at 12 years old.
That's awesome. That's fantastic.
So that was really cool.
Good for him.
But I did not have any really, I just knew that I was born again. And one thing I picked up out of the conversation at that time was the Lord's Prayer. Now I know the Lord's Prayer is a formula, but it also talks about really everything you need in life. And so I began to pray that every day for the rest of my life until I met Pat. And I would say that delivered me out of a lot of stuff, because I ended up in rock and roll bands and in bars way before I should have been, and all that kind of stuff. And because of that prayer, all of their time there, I grew, but I really didn't begin to grow until we got married. I mean, I read the Bible because that's what you do. I read the Bible in front of her, and she wondered what I was doing.
I really tried to read the Bible, and I would just
Yeah, too hard.
What book? Where did you start?
in Genesis.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
The beginning.
No,
Well, if you don't have instruction, if at your church you're taught that
Yes.
the Old Testament stories are just biblical examples of stuff and not the truth, you don't have much of a basis to
Right.
know.
Right.
You know, we're so blessed at the church that we have Pastor Eric over the children's ministry, because kids get born again, kids get filled with the Holy
Yeah.
Ghost. I mean, just great stuff. Now, although my parents were not church-going people, my mom made sure that I was always going to a church. So I'm a Baptist, Methodist, Pentecostal.
Christian Scientist.
Christian Scientist, yeah. I can tell you all the lights are in the ceiling of the Christian Science building, you know, all that kind of stuff. But anyway, but our parents were just great, so they were wonderful.
After our son was born, he got the chicken pox, and they were really, really severe when he was 4 months old. I mean, down his throat, all over his body.
Yeah.
And I got mononucleosis at the same time. And I couldn't take care of him.
Oh, you were also going to college and all
Yeah.
that.
And I had met a friend down at CU Extension after I transferred back here to get married from Iowa. And I called her in the middle of the night. I could see like I was in the bottom of this deep well, but I could see this spot of light, and I had no clue what that was. So I called her at 1 o'clock in the morning, and it was 3 o'clock because she was back on the East Coast, and I was just crying, and I said, I don't know what this means. And she said, I do. I'll send a friend tomorrow. And then I got born again. We had been attending church at this denominational church, and the friend that led me to the Lord took me through the 4 spiritual laws, and then she signed me up for a thing called Bible Study Fellowship.
That's great.
Wonderful.
And I thrived, and it was the book of John, and it was just wonderful.
I thrived because she thrived.
Exactly. I couldn't think of a better
Yeah.
beginning for you.
Yeah, that was
Amen.
great.
So then, as a result of being in the Word, I realized that my church was not preaching the Word. So we transferred to the Baptist church.
Well, but before you transfer, tell a little the story of the transfer, because that was really cute.
Well, we took a class in biblical archaeology
I love that.
from a guy from,
DU.
no, he was from the other seminary.
Okay.
Anyway,
There was a youth
and
pastor.
he was talking about how the Word confirmed this, that, and the other
Yes.
thing and everything. And during that time, our youth
There
leader
you go.
said that he didn't believe in the actual resurrection of Christ. And I had started reading, of course, and I thought, well, what have you got? And I had studied Buddhism and Mormonism and stuff when I was a senior in high school.
Wow.
And it kind of just left me flat. And so I thought, well, if you don't have the resurrection, you don't have anything. And so we started going to the Baptist church, and then when we were at the Baptist church,
Honey, you missed one more good part.
okay.
What's your favorite part?
My favorite, well, the whole thing's my favorite part. But it was just a good time, because my wife is she's a puncher.
Yeah.
Anyway, you asked the pastor
Oh.
about teaching about the second
I
coming.
went to our pastor and I said, is there any possibility that you could teach about the second coming in Revelation sometime?
Every pastor's dream question.
Yeah,
right?
probably.
Yeah, no.
And he said, well, maybe I should tell you what I think the second coming is. He said, I believe that anytime you have a religious experience, that's the second coming.
Mm.
And I thought, that doesn't sound like Jesus coming on the white horse and
Everything you had read and been studying.
Sounds a little anticlimactic. Well, thanks for that. There's a
Right.
bigger picture out there.
So the Bible study fellowship was held at the Baptist church, and I knew that they preached the word, so we went to the Baptist church. And then while
Good
we
for
were
you.
at the Baptist church,
A large Baptist church.
Yeah.
we encountered the Holy Spirit, and that wasn't well received there.
Right.
And
We did find 67 spirit-filled people in
yeah,
that.
as soon
I love
as
it. 67.
67, there were some.
Only 67.
Yes.
That's awesome.
That was 700 people in that church.
yeah, and as soon as we got filled with the Spirit, it was like they were in high def, as Pastor talks about. So we started talking to them. But we ended up transferring to a Pentecostal holiness church up in Greeley and moved up there and got ourselves right into all sorts of religious bondage.
Yeah, right. But great Bible study. I
Great
mean,
Bible
we
study.
really learned the Bible up there.
Isn't it? I love how you're talking about the different, as your faith is growing, as your marriage relationship and family is growing, how God wove together different seasons and stops throughout different denominations. And you took away the good of
Yep.
each one, but you kept moving towards what God's path was
Yeah, we definitely were.
for you.
Yeah, right. We wanted to be close to the
Yeah.
Lord.
You had that hunger that kept driving you towards more of Him.
Yeah, very
And then
much
we
so.
got kicked out of the Pentecostal church.
We've been kicked out of some really good churches.
Because you're just a rebel. Absolutely.
This is great.
And so we, at that point, Dave was traveling a lot because of his job.
That's
so
selling
I was-
vacuums door to door. That really sucks. Go ahead.
No pun intended.
You know?
Who knew that we'd sit down and
Yeah.
have so many good stories?
Yeah.
Y'all just sit down. It's like, well, they're a little older. I wonder what they're going to be sharing. And you are some of the funniest, most fun, special people.
So I was at home with 5 kids and no car in a small town, and he was on the road 6 days a week.
Wow.
With about 12 guys being the den mother or college mother of these nuts on the road. And that we both had a great experience, didn't we?
hard season of life.
But in that Greeley church, we developed lifelong friends.
Yes.
And we have a half a dozen friends that we're still friends with
Nice.
40 years later. I mean, intimate, and you go back and
Like you've
you're
never
at the
been
same-
apart.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
And so while I was there, I cried a lot, and I said, Lord, I have to know that I know your voice, not through a man, because they don't have it all.
love that.
They don't have what I need.
I love that.
And so I have to know above everything else that I know your voice. And I said, I feel so alone. And the Lord said, you are alone with me. And that's the season where I really began to hear his voice.
Wow.
And we were out of church for probably 5 or 6 years. We moved to Brighton. We re-enlisted into a more mainline Pentecostal church.
That'd be
And-
Foursquare.
And we were on the praise and worship team.
7
we led
years.
the children's department.
all the
I
Sunday
created
school.
curriculum for the
Wow, very involved.
stuff. And
Well, that's how a good Pentecostal church will make sure you're involved everywhere.
It was.
Yeah.
Yeah. It
well,
was
they
just-
didn't. We did.
Oh,
Yeah.
you did?
Oh yeah. We got
And
them.
then
We had like
our
revivals
pastors
that
were
lasted
cleaning
70
the church,
days.
and I thought that's not right. So we created a team where we alternated. We had 4 couples that came in and cleaned the church on a monthly basis, once a week, and that kind of stuff. We were very involved. And then they created a home study, Bible study, and he said, "You're my teaching deacon, so I want you to teach this." And we did, and it thrived, and people were just doing well. And one of the prayer ladies at the church that we prayed with a lot came out to visit. It was out in the country at one of the family's houses. And she was talking about how her husband had been sick for over a month, and then how she was sick and they couldn't get well, and their car had broken down, their refrigerator had broken down and stuff. And so we prayed for her, and I came against a spirit of infirmity and called it out of her and stuff. And she got well, things started turning around, but unbeknownst to us, she had gone to the pastor and said, "They cast a demon out of me, and I'm a believer, so how can that be?" And so then we heard talk with the pastor's mother about Church 1 and Church 2. And in the meantime, the people in our Bible study had stopped going to church. And so I knew where the Church 2 was coming from. But they stopped by and just chatted with us and asked how we felt about bringing the Bible study back to the church. And I said, "Well, you're the one that's involved. And, that's up to you." I said, "Personally, I feel like those people are thriving. And, that it's a good thing that's going on. But it's up to you." And then a couple Sundays later, we walked in and he started talking about apostasy and heresy, and unfortunately, some of our deacons, and named us by name.
Oh, wow.
And I just got this cold feeling just before he said our names. And then he went directly from that to communion. And I thought, there's no way that I can take communion at this point. And so we got up and we were walking out, and the lady that had gone to the pastor ran down the aisle, grabbed me by the knees, and said, "Totally! Totally!"
Yeah.
And so,
It's interesting in marriage and church life, right? Because the marriage models Christ and the bride of Christ, which is the church. And so there's always going to be an enemy of the goodness of marriages. That's why we do marriage architects, because we want to fight for marriages and open up vision for what the kingdom of God truly is in the covenant relationship of marriage. And it's exciting to us. And yet we walk through such pain. And so many people don't go to church because of the hurts and really some wrong things. And you just see behind the people's good, or who knows their intentions, you can see the enemy. It's almost like when Jesus looked at Peter and said, "Get thee behind me, Satan." Peter was God's man. He would build his church upon the rock. But boy, we can so often get off. And I just want to encourage people in their marriages today, and even if they've had a church hurt that has prevented them from being in church, to encourage them, don't stop, because you guys didn't stop. And we're going to probably put a pause. I want you to kind of give me a summary in maybe 2 minutes or so. And in a minute, we're going to, not a minute, but then we're going to do a part 2. Because we see revival in and through your lives because of the generations that you have impacted.
Well,
And
God never gave up on us, and we never gave up on God.
Gave up on a few churches.
yes,
I'd said I'd never
Yes.
I'd never sat under another pastor. Couldn't trust them. They're just mouth.
yes,
But of course, as you know, I had an encounter.
Sure. Absolutely. Absolutely.
yes. And so what? I'm so glad you said that. I'd never go to church again. I'd never sit under another man and pastor like you said. in
We
this
didn't walk
season,
away
hearing
from
God's
Jesus.
voice. Yes.
We walked away from the church because the church was hypocrisy. Not the people of the church, the leadership of it.
It can.
And that encounter, 1996,
Yes.
right? So that's a good place to pick it up for the next podcast, I think, or the next vision. So think about we've heard your story up until that time, and obviously
we really tried to stay there.
Yes.
I thought, I'm really going to pray about this. And so I called
Right.
and asked for a tape of that service so that I could go back and listen to all of the scriptures and what he had to say and ask God if there was any truth in it that we needed to respond
that's
to.
fantastic.
And he would not give us one.
That's fantastic.
And the people in the Bible study heard about it, and so they tried to get a tape, and he wouldn't give them anyone either.
Interesting.
And so
Yeah.
we never went back.
And then the ending of it, part of it that I thought was like, wow, was they were moving into a new parsonage, or they were redoing a parsonage that they were moving into. And of course, this whole issue came about because of demonic, because we cast out a demon. And his wife was working on a wall, and the wall was, she's cleaning it off, and the wall was kind of become unstable, and a
She
demonic.
kept putting paint, and it kept coming off.
Really?
Yeah, so a demon manifested and came right out of the wall. So that made it kind of
And so she
plain.
really could see the spiritual world is very real.
Oh, yes.
And our American Western culture doesn't see it that
No,
way
not at all.
always. And Jesus said, go and heal, cast out demons,
Yeah.
and feed the poor and the hungry. And so you are doing God's work, but sometimes the church doesn't always understand the full picture of what God does.
But
And this-
relating back to marriage, we really tried to work it out and do what was biblical, because it said to go and talk to them. And we've been fortunate in that we have never really fought. We've been best friends. Marriage has not been hard. All the stuff that we've dealt with has been hard, so our faith has still been challenged. But as far as our relationship, it's always been
I love
Good.
your heart and your gentle spirit, both of you, and that I know is refinement from the Lord and His ways and the Holy Spirit working in you. But your heart has always been in the right place, and that's evident,
Yeah.
in so much of what you do, and even in how you treated, the other church and the other pastors. So let's pause there if we can and pick up kind of in 1996 and kind of that next story.
Thank you so much. No, you're spot on,
you're-
and it's so encouraging to hear your.
It's a ton of fun to have these conversations with you and kind of document stuff too.
Yeah.
I'm excited.
Thanks for joining us at Foundations. Remember to take our quiz for your free marriage blueprint by clicking the link in the show notes. You can also check out our website at foundationsquiz.com.